Today we're going to take it easy. We're going to do a little spooky pumpkin. For my base, instead of it being white, which you can see here, I've got this off yellow. And this is going to be a puff foundation. I have two top colors, and for those top colors, I'm going to do what's referred to as a split fountain. Basically, it's a blend, a physical blend of ink in the screen for each of these screens. I know what it's supposed to look like in my head. I have not yet printed it. So let's see how well I did. What I did, as I'm here on the 250, I'm using a 110 mesh for my puff foundation. There is a small halftone here. It's about a 15% dot at 40 lines per inch on a 110. Again, we're using base layer complete emulsion, and we're using the base layer LED exposure unit. And the films are not an all black system. They're just an Epson printer using the ultra chrome inks with a little bit of a slightly denser laydown. And the reason why I talk about that is because you too at home can get high detail like this in your 110 mesh, just following your steps and listening to all the things we talked about in our deep dives. So the top colors I have through 230s, and I'm going to be printing fluorescent inks. So this is the Wilflex fluorescent green, and this is a mix of fluorescent yellow and fluorescent green to create a lighter tone. Now my goal in this is to create a highlight point in my design in which the colors that I'm printing are a little brighter, and then the colors on the outside are a little darker. We'll find out how well that actually works. And in this, I also have some halftones. May not be picked up on camera right now, but there's some halftones in this and in both of these colors that will let this background color come through and influence it. So you can see there's a lot going on in a simple 3-screen design, and I'm curious to find out how it's going to look. When I'm creating my fountain split, my split fountain, I'm not focusing on the colors being evenly split across the screen. I have this focal point of this flame. So here, I want my center to be centered about where the flame is, which means it's off center on my design. So I have put my center blending color offset a little bit, and I'll find out how close that is as I'm sampling and see if I need to make some changes. So on this orange, I'm going to drop in those colors now. You can see how I walk through that process. This one is fluorescent red and fluorescent yellow to create a lighter orange color shade. Again, I want that to be right about there. Again, centered on that flame. Spread that out just a little bit. And we'll call that a good placement. For that center, I want a fair amount of ink down, and then the colors that I place on the sides are going to help control how far that ink spreads out. Grab a paper towel here, clean up my hands a little bit. Fluorescent inks are just stringy. Now, I may not have made enough of my bright orange. And this is, again, a mix of fluorescent red, the Rio RFU fluorescent red, and just a little bit of the fluorescent yellow to bring it into an orange state. A little bit more orange. Now this design is actually already being used by Daryl, our own resident wizard. He did this up last screen print experience class using fluorescent ink. So his print was my inspiration to get this one up on press. Okay, so check registration. Now when you first few times you print a blend, you want to kind of feather that ink a little bit until you get that physical meeting of the ink, and then pull across your screen as evenly as you can. You can see there how the colors are starting to merge together a little bit. And if we take a look at how that color blend here is behaving, you can definitely see that the colors are starting to blend together and merge together and get a good color. So for registration, we're not too worried about it being perfect. You want to be very linear in how you move your squeegee. Any movement side to side is going to cause ink to fall into the other areas of your blend. All right, registration's good. Give that a soft print and a hard print. This is just to continue that physical blending, trying to be a robot in how I'm approaching this. There we go. Let's give this a flash. Squeaky, squeaky. Now, part of why this is going to be a challenge is fluorescent inks take a while to flash. And when you're dealing with a temperature sensitive ink like puff, you got to really balance your platen heat. Of course, having a cold platen doesn't help at all either. All right. Check registration. There we go. Definitely want my blend to spread out a little bit more for that orange to come out over this way a little bit more. So right around here is where that color stopped, like actual physical blending stopped. So I'm going to try and move that over a little bit. Scrape that, move that ink over, and then go back to my lighter orange, and then just add a little dab there. So that'll help move that in. And again, the only way to clear up these adjustments is to print a few times. Let's give this a flash. Now, this is simply me wanting to take advantage of not needing to use another shirt. And I think for the base, I want to do a print flash print of the puff anyways. No! Absolutely getting better. I think I want to move my orange blend sideways a little bit here. In order to move that blend around, you need to start changing volumes of ink that are there because they produce like its own little wall. So as you pull a squeegee, the ink wants to physically spread out this way, as we have ink that builds on the sides of your squeegee over time. So if you want to control one of your blends, you need to add more ink on the outside so that it forces it together. If you want your blend to spread out, you want to remove some of that ink so that the ink in the middle can spread out a little bit more. In this case, I want to try and force this edge, this blending point, over just a little bit. So I took that ink off the side and moved it there. Once I found where I really wanted it to be, then I would need to add more of that color on the sides here as a way to basically like create a dam and corral that ink inside. Dam, corral, horses, totally makes sense. So now I'm gonna lift this, put it back under the flash and see how the puff behaves. Okay, pull out my glasses because I'm an old man. Okay, overall that's not bad. Puff's doing what I want. In here I have this little halftone fade underneath the orange. My goal was to create like a little fade off step of slightly darker. It's underneath here as well, but not have it go straight to shirt. Have like a little bit of a tint there. And that small 10%, 15% dot is controlling that pretty good. And for it being under the flash, that's not bad. In here, I've got that lighter print, that halftone effect of the yellow and the green mixed in, combined with that yellow of the puff. Yeah, it's doing close to what I want. I probably should have darkened up the green itself instead of going straight out of the bucket, so I had higher contrast between the two. I would have wanted to change the artwork so I had some better blending areas so that it wasn't quite so hard transition between these two. Or maybe I just need to wait for that blend to spread out. So I'm gonna grab some masking tape here to tape off my registration marks. Please don't do this at home unless you know to take care of it quickly. Masking tape tends to pull oils out of the ink, and what that does is it dries it up, and it can actually cause some downstream issues. It's easier to just not use masking tape, to use something else, but I left my regular tape upstairs on the mezzanine where all the other equipment is. So I'm using what I got, and I know what I've got to deal with later on. That's why a solvent-based adhesive backing on either a PVC or acrylic tape is better than masking tape. Weird, because what I'm seeing here, the blend itself is doing fine for my orange, but because I have this split here with the green drip, it looks like there's a harder transition than there actually is. All right, let's run this through the dryer and see how it looks. And there we go. Puff base, 2 split fountains over the puff. Gives you a nice design that looks like it's 5, maybe 6 screens out of 3. That's gonna wrap it up for another deep dive with Colin. We talked about split fountains on top of a puff underbase. As always, if you like what you see here, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you got any questions. Share this with a friend if you think this is something that they'd be interested in. Talk to you guys next time.